Truth is brutal, since people blurt out whatever is in their minds. Just think about what you think sometimes. Have you ever had that experience of riding on the bus or walking through a shopping mall, perhaps visiting with a family member or a friend, thinking those thoughts that you hope can't be picked up by any sort of clairvoyance? Now, I know that certain phenomena in clairvoyance don't exist, because if it did, if it really, really did, I would get slapped an awful lot when I'm out in public. So either there's nothing to it, or those who can read my particular mind are particularly polite in responding to me. In any event, back to the movie, The Invention of Lying. Enter Mark Bellison, an affable but mildly pathetic character played by Ricky Gervais, who is an unsuccessful screenwriter of documentaries about the Black Death. He is dismissed by everyone he encounters as an inconsequential loser. Even sweet Anna, who would make my heart throb. Even sweet Anna, the object of his affections, played by Jennifer Garner, dismisses him as a potential partner owing to his obviously poor genes, which she sees reflected in his mediocre looks and portly stature. She's afraid of having fat little kids with snub noses, she says. Well, when Mark is fired from his job and subsequently evicted from his apartment when the landlord learns of his termination, he saunters over to the bank to withdraw his last $300. But the computer system is down. The computer's always down at the bank. When the teller asks him how much money is in his account, he pauses for a moment and tells his first lie, saying that there's $800. Which just happens to be enough to cover his month's rent. He obviously lives in a cheaper neighborhood than most of us. Even though the computer system comes back up, revealing his actual balance, the teller still pays him $800 on the assumption that there must be a mistake with the computer. After all, nobody lies in this society. Well, I suppose it's like a wild creature getting its first taste of flesh. He's hooked. And he starts experimenting with lying as he goes along. Having discovered how to lie, he tests out this discovery in a variety of self-serving but mostly harmless ways. But one of his lies marks a crucial turning point. When his mother suffers a fatal heart attack, Mark speeds to her bedside, where he finds her on the brink of death, powerfully afraid of what awaits her, thinking of death as a state of complete nothingness, a void. She is traumatized and afraid. And so Mark invents a story. He invents a story off the top of his head about a happy afterlife in which his mother will be young again, free of pain, reunited with deceased loved ones, and pursuing the things that she loved most in life. It's all a lie. He's making it up as he goes along. But comforted by this story, which she accepts at face value, because no one lies in this world, she dies peacefully. However, the medical team also overhears Mark's story, and astonished by his secret knowledge, they begin to spread word rapidly, and Mark is soon the object of public attention. Everywhere, weaving a story about a man in the sky who revealed this knowledge to him, articulating an ethic of everyday kindness and the consequences that face those who misbehave, amending the story as it goes along, as new anxieties he provokes are solved by additional qualifications to relieve people of the possibilities. In the process of inventing the lie, Mark Bellison inadvertently invents religion. Now, while I'm convinced that much of what passes for religion is demonstrably false, I'm not here to suggest that religion itself is inherently false. Far from it. I've devoted my life to the service of liberal religion. The invention of lying is an amusing story, and the joke is on me, and you too, and every other person who understands him or herself as a religious person, conventional or unorthodox, heterodox. It doesn't matter how you describe yourself. If you describe yourself as in any way being religious, the joke is on you too. But what intrigues me is the principal character's motivation for lying, which in the pivotal scene is nothing more nor less than compassion. It is the affections of the heart that move Mark Bellison to fabricate a story to ease his mother's dying because he loves her. Religion is a direction of the heart. And sometimes we even fabricate what if and as if stories, because the mandate of the heart is as strong as the mandate of our minds. The famed Arctic explorer Wilhelmer Stephenson, who was in training for the Unitarian ministry before embarking on a career in anthropology, once wrote, "The most striking contradiction of our civilization is the fundamental reverence for truth which we profess, and the thoroughgoing disregard for it which we practice." God and truth have from the earliest times been the two ideas that have commanded the greatest reverence. They have been much argued by the philosophers, with many curious parallels and one striking contrast. The one contrast is that while the philosophers have discussed at great length whether God is good, they have never discussed whether truth is good. Is it not a bit suspicious that this is the one thing they have always assumed? And in a world of chaotic philosophies that get us nowhere, is it not time to ask if there be any sound reason why truth should be exempted from the fundamental scrutiny to which even the gods have had to submit? It's an interesting question that Wilhelmer Stephenson asks, and he's not for a moment suggesting that what we should do is abandon the search for truth, that we should somehow believe that ascertaining what is most true is unimportant in the spiritual quest. He's not suggesting, nor am I, that the search for truth and meaning, which we profess as Unitarian Universalists, isn't foundational to our faith. He is reminding us that perfect truth is not always compatible with goodness.